Welcome back, Superhuman. I'm so excited to be bringing you another live show. My guest today is Felicity Graham, and just to throw it out there, she was one of the top 4 nominees for Young Australian of the Year for South Australia. Amazing, an honour indeed. So, who is Felicity Graham? She is a 19-year-old advocate, founder, and author. All right, at 19. She published her first book, Not Held Down, at 17, which is an autobiography about her time growing up in child protection. Her second book is Oscar's Layers, in which pre-orders were started to raise funds to publish in 2023. Now, Felicity was 8 years old when she came into child protection with her older sister. After 14, she left her first foster family of 7 years and moved around between 5 other families, homeless shelters, cities, and group homes. Now at 19, Felicity has launched her advocacy company, Fostering Change Australia, her advocacy company, which she hopes will grow worldwide. So through this non-for-profit, she uses her story to advocate for change in the system and educate the community on what and how they can help support kids in care. One of the many things she loves about doing advocacy and public speaking is being able to do it alongside other young people and getting to hear their stories who are also in care. We can make the biggest change when we all come together to unite our voices and advocate together with our life experiences, or lived experiences. So welcome to the show, Felicity.
Thanks for having me.
This is amazing. So you are a young author. I mean, you're doing wonderful things. And this is part of the reason why, I touched base with you, because I just think that a story like yours it's not unique, unfortunately, but what's unique is the way that obviously you're able to share your story and the movement that you're now trying to put behind that in making change for others. So props for you to that. So Not Held Down, your first book.
Yeah.
What prompted you to, start writing that, to obviously start sharing your story and your message?
So I started writing it when I was in the homeless shelter when I was 16, 15, 16, because I wanted to share my story. I wanted to help other young people in care know that they're not alone, that their story matters, and that they aren't just a statistic in the system, and that they can do incredible things. And then I wasn't actually going to publish it. I was just going to write down my thoughts, my experiences, and maybe publish it when I was in my 20s. Then after a couple months, I had to move to Adelaide from my country town, hometown, and then I started emailing publishers at 16, and I finally found a really good publisher that supported me throughout the process, and then that's how I was able to publish it and stuff.
Wow. So did you feel like it was almost like you just woke up one day and just felt cold to share it now?
Basically,
yeah. Incredible, because I mean, a lot of people would wait till their 20s or a bit later that they'd edited or changed it or whatnot, but I think sharing it from your age and your perspective is most powerful and what is needed for other children. And
and I think writing it at such a young age, I was able to learn and realize that I'm never too young to do things. Like, you're not too young to do anything. You can do anything you put your mind to. Is like, sometimes it makes it harder if you're younger or like circumstances, but you can actually do anything you put your mind to, and that really helped me become unstoppable.
100%. That's actually really important. I think I was fortunate when I was younger to be told anything was possible, so I just went all out with everything. But it is important to know that, it doesn't matter what age you are. And I met a woman recently who said she wanted to write a book when she was 16, which when you started, and someone told her that you shouldn't bother because with you're impatient, or they had these preconceived notions of who she was, and so she shelved it. So now she's in her 30s. She's never written that book.
It really it matters who your influences are. I know that when I was 12 or 11, I wanted to be a vet because I love animals, and one of my foster carers was like, "Oh, you're not smart enough to be a vet," so so that really just downplayed my dream of becoming a vet. And now year 11 dropout, being a CEO, founder, and author. So,
Awesome. All right, so Not Held Down, obviously that's clear in itself. You just said that anything's possible. You're not held down, you're not limited by your age. So where does your story begin in terms of the book?
The prologue, there's a prologue that begins when I first went into care. So that's a couple of pages just talking about what I remember, because I don't really remember much when I was younger, about getting put in care from my mum's care. My mum and dad divorced when I was 2, so my dad lived in another city. And yeah, I left mum with my elder sister due to neglect. And then the rest of the first chapter starts when I left my first placement of 7 years, which was supposed to be the placement that stayed until you're 18. But yeah, I left that when I was 13, turning 14 in a week. So that's where the book starts, is that day that I left that placement and the thoughts and stuff.
So you did stay in the first new home for 7 years.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you made that sort of association, that decision that this place is not right for me. You know, that you're quite young to be like, this isn't right. I'm going to, you know, where were you at there, like, to make that decision?
It was kind of leading up to it. About a year before the placement ended, there was a lot of disagreements. My elder sister actually left the placement around this time, so there was a lot of disagreements, arguments. We had a couple of deaths in the family, and the arguments just continued to the point where it was breaking point. And one day I went to school, and I didn't know if I was going to leave this placement or not. It was definitely a strong possibility. And then going home and with my social worker and my carer saying, no, she needs to leave, she needs to go out tonight. So I was packing my bags in tears and having to leave.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I guess that 7 years is a long time in any sense. I guess what I'm trying to understand is, when you were 7 and you were still living at home with mum and sister, and you went, I'm
out. That was mainly, so when I lived with my biological mum, was reports after reports of child neglect. I don't know the full extent of why I went into care. I'm waiting for my files. Once you're 18, you can apply to get your files from DCP. So I don't remember anything before care. I just know that there was a lot of neglect.
So it wasn't your decision?
No, it was DCP's decision.
Right.
I think DCP, Department of Child Protection Services, were known to my family since a very young age. I actually got all my childhood school reports at the end of every year the other day from my mum, because it was at my mum's house, and I was reading one of my kindergarten reports, and it was like they were writing about how services were in my mum's knowledge and stuff. So yeah, DCP was known to us probably for a long time before care.
Wow. Okay, that makes more sense. So I'm like, I know kids run away from home, you know, sometimes, or you think, I want to, you know. So okay, that makes more sense. So you find yourself, and I'm sorry I keep going back there, because I know you don't remember a whole lot. So you've left there, you found this new home, and how did you manage, you know, how did you find your feet in this new environment? Because all of a sudden you don't even really know, like, okay, so what do I do here? Like, where am I? You know, this is my new life.
I remember coming to the house. It was a 2-story house. So I was like this little 7-year-old little girl, and seeing a massive house, and it was like a little castle. I talk about it in the book about how I felt like I was a princess in a castle. And again, don't really remember how I was feeling, but these carers, because I lived in a country town, so everyone knows everyone. So these carers, we actually knew before we went into care. Okay. So that, I think that kind of helped me make a bit more sense about feeling comfortable and stuff. So yeah, I think I was obviously definitely scared being a 7-year-old, leaving my mum's house, my only home. But I think it took time to adjust. But I think I felt a lot more safer and comfortable when I had my sister there, because we went into care together. Unfortunately, over the years, our relationship deteriorated. We don't talk anymore. But I think back then that she was my rock. Yeah.
When do you think that did that relationship deteriorate in that period of time?
Over the years, and that was family until to the point where it was enough, and
you just went separate ways.
So I actually have 2 sisters, so went separate ways. Both of them don't really talk to mum or dad that much, or at all.
Was there any times when you were in this new foster care home where you were trying to find mum again, or trying to?
So we got contact with mum. We were able to have access, so we were able to see mum, I think it was twice a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays. Okay. And maybe on Sundays as well. So we did still have contact. So a lot of kids in care, if there is severe abuse or whatever, kids can't see their parents, or they can see them once a month. But we were fortunate enough that we were able to see mum. Mum had like intellectual disabilities, so she was like had the mind of a child. So she tried her hardest, I think, in some ways. But yeah, so we were able to see her for a bit, and then as I got older, I decided I didn't want to see her as much, so I pulled back.
Yeah. Do you think you decided to not see her for your own peace, for your own well-being?
Yeah, especially recently, I've started cutting back and cutting off a lot of my biological family for my own peace and my own healing. Yeah, there was just toxic and that sort of stuff in that family that I was like, I just need to step back for my own health and my own peace. Yeah.
And then so when you moved, so when you were now 14, did you leave the town? Was your next place somewhere else?
No, it was still in the same town. So I actually moved into emergency care. So sometimes if kids coming straight into child protection, they will go into emergency placement until they find a foster family, or if a foster family placement breaks down, they go into this emergency care. So I was actually in emergency care for a month. It's actually really weird. So when I first went into this foster placement, I was 7 turning 8 in a week.
Yeah.
And when I left this foster placement, I was 13 turning 14 in a week.
Wow.
Yeah. So I spent my emergency placement in my birthday in emergency placement. It was really sweet. This family were amazing. They got me birthday presents. They tried making it as normal as possible. And then I only stayed there for, I think, about a month and a half, and then I was in a youth homeless shelter for 3 months, and then I went into a foster family for 8 weeks, which was one of the weirdest placement breakdowns, how that placement broke down. And then I was back in emergency care, and then
Why was it weird?
So it was just so weird. So this lady was really sweet. She was a single foster mom, had a little 5-year-old foster child, and I just remember, I don't know if this placement was leading up to breaking. I was only there for I think 8 weeks or 2 months. We got along per se, like we had arguments and disagreements, but everyone does if you're under the same roof. But I remember this one night I was really struggling with my mental health, and she came into my room and stuff, and she's like, oh, do you need to go to the hospital? I was like, no, I'm fine. Next day I went to school, and I remember after school I just got a phone call saying, oh, your social worker's going to pick you up, which was normal. Our social workers sometimes take you out for ice creams or milkshakes, whatever, just to have a chat. So I didn't really think anything of it. And then I remember being in this car and the carer, like this social worker, saying, oh, the adults have decided it's best that you leave. So they dropped me home, and all my stuff was packed already. Like it was, so normally like you get knowledge like ages before you can pack yourself, but no, all my suitcases were packed and already in the car, and I was saying goodbye to this carer. And no one told me why. For months, it was a couple months later that I actually messaged this carer and like, what happened? Because no one told me why. Like DCP should have told me why, that's their job, but no one told me why. It was just, oh yeah, placements stopped, you have to go somewhere else. And then this carer said to me, and I don't know if this is the truth or not, but she said to me that she felt I deserved 2 parents instead of 1. So she suggested the placement broke down, like placement ending. But I don't know if that's the real reason or if that's what she said to me in that moment. But it was just so weird. Like I just came home from school and all my stuff was packed. And so obviously as a 14-year-old, I'm like, what did I do wrong? Because no one told me why the placement broke down. I don't know what I did wrong. And then I was just overplaying, like, God, did I say something? Did I do something? What happened? And yeah, for 2 months, they just never told me. DCP just never told me.
Gosh, that's torment.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah. So how did you deal with that? Because I guess in that situation, you know, probably what did you learn from that?
Not much. I learnt. I don't know even to this day, it just weirds me out that no one told me why. Like a 14-year-old should know why the placement ended. And I think it just really showed me that there needs to be more done. Like DCP needs to learn more things. They need to tell the children why this is happening, bring the children into the decision making. A lot of my life I wasn't in decision making. I was constantly had decisions made for me. To this day I suck at making decisions for myself. I'd rather someone else make them because I never learned how. So that was just the weirdest thing ever. I'm in contact with a lot of my old carers. This one carer, I've messaged her a couple times to check in, but she hasn't really replied to me. So
Okay.
kind of just stepped back and was like, hey, yeah, still thankful for your time, but
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the time we had.
I still talk to this placement of 7 years. We're a lot closer now.
Ooh,
so
that's
yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I think, like I said, that year leading up to it, we had a lot of deaths. There was
Yeah.
a lot of issues going on for them as
Mm,
well.
mhm.
And I think it was just a really tricky time. And it's actually been really sweet because I used to think that these carers didn't want me, that like, you know, that they weren't doing it for the right reasons. They didn't actually care. But again, I got all my school reports back from when I was in year 1, kindergarten. And it's actually really sweet. The other day, I saw this little teacher's note, and it's like a parent note, and the note said, we are glad that she came to live with us as like a year 1. So 8 years old. They wrote that in my school report, and I found that really sweet because I've always just thought they didn't love me. And then like I've seen these school reports and these parent comments where they're saying, we love her, we're so glad she's come to live with us, she's doing amazing, we're proud of her. I'm like, oh wow,
That's nice.
yeah,
that's really nice. I think when you were talking about the strange experience, you know, what was sort of coming to my mind was, well, one, you said that there needs to be improvement with the system. And I think communication there.
Oh yeah.
There's definitely a communication breakdown between you, them, everyone, you know. And I had to sit with that for 2 months, not knowing and pondering, and, you know, when you've already got mental health, you know,
right.
and was it me?
Yeah.
And so I guess before I asked you what was the lesson, for me looking at that, I would think, not taking it personal, you know, it's not about you actually. You know, we think everything's about us, right? And then at that time you were like, what did I do? What was it me? What did I say? But it's like, it actually had nothing to do with you, because clearly now you're trying to reach back out to her, and she's just like, so there's stuff that she had stuff you helped raise to the surface, perhaps just by your presence, you know, and she's still got to deal with that.
And I'm so grateful for that. I mean, I'm grateful for every foster family. Like there was one placement that was 2.5 weeks, and still mad at them, but like I'm still grateful for that time. Still grateful for giving me a roof over my head. But yeah, no, it was definitely the weirdest placement breakdown I have. And I think DCP, and a lot of people have this issue where they think kids don't know what's best for them, or they're not that smart. And I think the brain of children is just incredible. I can stay up all night watching things about the brain, and like little ones just know so much. And I think that is the issue, is that they're not communicating with kids because they think the kids don't know. And it's like a lot of the time kids do know, and you'd be surprised what kids can just sponge in their brain and know.
100%. Those years are very transformational on so many different levels. So, you know, that lack of communication is actually hindering the growth of children. And
then we have to pay for it now at 19, where I don't know how to make decisions for myself, and I don't know how to communicate.
Well, you're learning.
I am now,
and you have to. And you know, and obviously writing a book, you know, starting the process of writing a book at 16, you know, even though you didn't have the intention of publishing it, it would have been healing in itself. Right? Like just getting it all out on paper, like a big journal. And
I think I used to always love journaling as well, so I think that really helped me write the book, so I was able to read back on the journals. I didn't start writing until the second time, because I was in that homeless shelter twice. So I was in there for when I was 15, and then again when I was 14, and then again when I was 16. So
do you think being a bit on the move, I'd say, you know, not really like you're on the go constantly, but did it make you appreciate what you did have, and where you like, did it grow your appreciation for things?
I think so. And it really, like, it was hard learning how to fit the mold in each family, but it was also really beneficial and really helpful, because I was able to learn about different cultures, different like experiences. My 7-year placement, they have 2 special needs kids, so I was able to learn about this. Like, I mean, my mum had disabilities, so I already knew about disabilities, but having like these kids, their kids having special needs, being nonverbal, I was able to have a sense of empathy and compassion for that. And I've just always been big about that sort of stuff. I know that like kids in class would always bully me about having a sister with special needs who couldn't talk and was like a child and stuff, and like I was just so protective of her, and even to this day, like it's so cute, because I go to Port Lincoln every now and then, and being able to see them, and she's like, even though she she doesn't have the brain of like an adult or anything. She's like very non-verbal. She like still gets really happy when she sees me and stuff, and you just know that she knows you, she remembers you.
Yeah.
And it's really sweet. And I think learning about that sort of stuff, how different families run, it was hard to fit the mold of each one, but it definitely taught me. And I got to experience wealthier families and not so wealthier families. So that also gave me that knowledge of, and then once I hit the homeless shelters and the group homes, I was like, and then listening to other young people in care who never had a foster family, they were in group homes their whole life, they were moving around a lot more. I had that sense of compassion that I was like, okay, I got to experience what a family was like, unlike a lot of kids around me who have been in care. So it definitely helps me become more grateful about what I do have, because my story isn't as bad as some, but it's not as good as some as well.
It's all a matter of perspective, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and meeting other kids and people who have had a quote harder time, you know, really puts things into perspective for you to be like, okay, actually,
100%.
And I mean, you may view it like that now or you may not, but in a sense, what a blessing to be able to have so much experience, right? Because are you looking back at it now like that?
I definitely. I've had to have a lot of experience and a lot of growth. I know that a lot of people are like, oh, you seem so much older than you are. And like, you know, the things you've gone through, they've made you stronger. But you have to realize in a sense that children shouldn't be strong. Like, you know, I've had to protect myself. I struggle so much to let people in and let people help me, because I've had to be strong. I've had to protect myself in a lot of ways. And it's helped me grow, and it's helped me definitely get stronger and build that resilience. But it's also been damaging, because now I struggle to let people in. I struggle to ask for help. I'm such an independent person. I can't accept help.
Yes, that is a skill set in its own. I was having that conversation literally this morning. You know, especially when you have your empath, right, and you have so much compassion and so much to give, it's hard to receive. It's hard to ask. You know, and you know why, and that's your power. Your power is actually knowing why these things are hindering you because of your past, and then that's part of your healing journey now, isn't it? It's like you have trust issues, or you feel like someone's going to betray you, or things like that. You're always skeptical.
100%. Like, you know, and people always like, oh, I'm not going to leave. I'm going to leave. And I'm like, but everyone else has, and I've heard that 1,000 times.
Wow.
So and then once I let people in, it is scary letting people in for sure, because you're like, well, if I let you in, there is that chance that you will leave. So am I going to risk letting someone in and letting someone show me that not everyone leaves, that you can be loved? Will that risk, you're leaving, you know?
That's so powerful. That awareness is powerful. Because then you know, and you know what you need to work on. Slowly, and sometimes we do have to run the risk of being hurt, don't we?
100%.
Because you can disallow yourself from experiencing, you know, some great things in life just because we're scared of getting hurt. What a powerful lesson to learn at your age. I'm getting lost at where I want to go with this. There's just so much there. So you write this book, and you find a publisher, and you're starting to talk about your message. Now, are you still living with a family at that time, or were you starting to branch out on your own? Are you out on your own now?
When I first wrote my book. So I went that 2-month placement. I then went back into emergency care for a month and a half, and then I found the foster family that I thought was my forever family. They were one of those people that are like, we're not going anywhere. We promise, like, you know, we'll always be here for you. It took a couple of months. It still takes. I still talk to them. There's still days where I don't. Like, I struggle to trust that, you know. And after almost a year being with them, the placement broke down. And that destroyed me. I think that was the only family placement that pretty much wrecked me. I didn't actually think I was going to survive that placement breakdown. I was on my bed crying. It felt like someone died. Like, you know, that grief. But I pulled myself together somehow. It took, a couple of years. It's been 5 years now. And then I went into emergency care for a month and a half, and then DCP put me in this foster family that I didn't think it was going to work. I didn't feel comfortable being with this family, but I had no choice because there was just not enough foster families. And that was the worst 2.5 weeks of my life being with that family. And then once I left their placement, I moved back into the homeless shelter, and that's when I started writing my book. Was when I left the last foster family. That was the last foster family I've ever been in, and went into a homeless shelter, wrote the book. It was actually really sweet. I actually went back to my hometown and caught up with one of my youth workers when I started writing my book, and she's got my book now and stuff, and we were just chatting about that time. And it was really good to catch up with her because I haven't seen her since 2019. And then I just kept writing. In school, I was just writing my book instead of doing schoolwork. Skipped school a few times, but what can you say when you're in a homeless shelter? You don't want to go to school either. So then I left that homeless shelter when I was 16 and moved to Adelaide. And that's when I found my publishers, when I was back in the group home. So I was in this supported independent living group home where we got to learn how to cook, clean, shop, budget, everything. And I was there until April last year, in which I ended up living independently. And now, still live independently. Got a puppy who's 8 months old and 2 cats. And
now you're caring for a little puppy.
He just got D-sex last Monday and has destroyed his cone this week and pulled out his stitches, so he had to go back to the vet yesterday because he just completely broke the cone. He just chewed it so badly.
But what a joy he brings to your life, huh?
In
the grand
the joy and the frustration, it's like having a child.
Yes, literally. You've gone all out. You've gone from maybe starting off with a cat.
I started off with 1 cat. I was like, you can do another cat. 2 cats are perfect. Like 2 cats are not that massive jump from 1 cat. I was like, I could do a puppy. Nah, I'd rather stick with the cats. I mean, I love him, but and then people are like, how many animals are you gonna have? I'm like, I know my limit. No more pets after these 3.
And it's also an investment having them, vet fees and things like that. Which is ironic because you wanted to be a vet and now you've got like a little family of pets. Animals. So being you said earlier you were a year 11 school dropout. But you've literally had like probably the best. Sorry, I don't say best. Let's just, but you've had like school of life. Right?
Like probably learnt more things than school could teach me for sure.
100%, and because I don't want that to come across as insensitive, because I feel insensitive saying it.
No, it's
but
true.
You know what I mean? Like,
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't tell kids to drop out of school if they've got trauma and childhood issues. Still go to school. Don't drop out. But definitely had life lessons.
You've had opportunity to like get to know different characters. There's nothing more personal than living in someone else's home. That's when you truly get to know what people are really like. So you've really got to learn people. And who knows, I know what you're so we'll talk about what you're doing now, but like think about later and what you could be doing, because your understanding and knowledge of people and environments and circumstances and trauma and healing and all these amazing things that are now literally at your grasp, because you're still going through it. And just in case it went by anybody's ears, she did say that it took her 5 years to get over the hurt of the last place. So because people often look at people on the other side and go, oh, that's all right, and it's like, no, 5 years of pain is 5 years of pain, people. So we've got to honor that for what it is, and it's a hard freaking time. We get emotional just thinking about it.
But it's even worse when you're a 14-year-old going through that pain. Like, no teenager, like, as a 14-year-old, I should be out having friends and like playing with my friends, not thinking, what did I do wrong for this placement to end? What did I do wrong for this family not to want me? And like, protect myself, because I'm like, if no family wants me, then no one wants me. And it's such a hard thing. And even to this day, I still struggle every now and then with that, because like, can I keep friends? Can I be in a relationship? Not that I want to be in a relationship, I'm happy being single. And I think being happy being single is probably the issue of not having a family, but relationship counseling. And like no 14-year-old or 12-year-old or 5-year-old or 8-year-old should ever wonder, what did I do wrong that a family didn't want me? Why am I not enough for them?
Not to mention the hormonal changes.
The
developmental changes. There we go. The changes you're going through at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, wow, that's just like compounding on top of everything else.
Right. And then school stresses. Like I skipped school because I was like, I can't handle the school stress, the work, and as well as being in a homeless shelter or moving from family to family. And it was really hard for teachers to understand that. And that's why my advocacy, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, is not just for DCP agencies, it's for schools, it's for police stations, it's for the community. Because I remember these teachers, some teachers were really good. Some teachers would be like, I know this one teacher, he'd always be like, leave your problems at the door of your house and like come to school with a new mind. And I was like, we're not a homeless shelter, what do you mean? I can't really leave it at my house. Or like some other teachers be like, Felicity, stop doing that, stop being naughty. I'm like, what are you gonna do? Call my mum and dad, I don't have one. It was funny, but also a bit cheeky.
Yes. Well, you were a teenager.
Yeah, right. Teenager moving around. Yeah.
Going through a lot of emotions and so it comes out in different ways.
Yeah.
All right. So now tell us, like, what are you passionate about now? What's your passion now?
My passion is to just make a difference in the system. I think just to advocate for the system. There's just so many young people today in care that feel alone, I think, and that feel like they can't achieve enough, they can't do things, and that there'll always be the stereotypes of not being good enough, of being a dropout, of being troubled kids, the garbage bag kids, which it's just horrible. Because I just remember some police officers and some people, they think that all kids in care are the drug people that do drugs, and they are criminals and they're not good and they're just troubled little kids, and that they're not going to go anywhere in life. And it's like, that's not what they are. But if you hear those stereotypes and those things every day, you're going to be like, well, why change? Why prove them wrong when they think that of me? And that's why I did what I did, because I was like, I want to prove them wrong. Like, and if I can prove them wrong, hopefully I can help other young people in care prove them wrong too, and be like, no, these stereotypes aren't who I am. This is not who I'm going to let myself be. And and just changing the system and just educating the community. Because when you hear about child protection, you only hear about the bad stuff. You never hear about the good stuff. And there needs to be talk about the bad stuff, but there also needs to be talk about positive stuff. And DCP and a lot of agencies don't hold themselves accountable to stuff that they're doing that are damaging kids in care. And that's where I stepped in. People always say how like I'm doing incredible things, but really I'm just doing the most minimalistic thing, the smallest things that DCP and other agencies should be doing, and they're not doing. So I have to step in. I know that I could never work under an agency because I'm just very resilient, very assertive, and if I don't see something going right, I will fight, and I'll fight, and I'll fight. So I created my company because I'm like, I need to do this for myself. I need to make that change. And like I said, working with young people in care or who've left care and hearing their stories and being able to share my story with them has really helped me build so many relationships and friendships that I love. And that's just my passion, is just finally advocating and giving a voice to young people in care and making that change that is so desperately needed by using my story Australia-wide, worldwide, whatever it needs to be, because it's everyone's job to protect those kids in care. It's not just DCPs, it's not just these agencies, it's the community, it's churches, it's schools and everything. Because kids in care, they need everyone. They need a village, and there's not a village, and it's not strong enough. And we're really, really letting down kids in care. Like, we've had so many deaths for kids who are known to DCP this year. That has been just ridiculous. And there's kids tonight and right now who are getting abuse at home that need to be in care. But sometimes being in those families are better than being in care, because care is not protecting them. We're lacking in foster families. We're lacking in good foster families.
Would you say that that's probably the biggest thing you're trying to communicate? Is people there needs to be more support. More support for kids in care, more support for foster families, more training for foster families as well, for sure. Okay. So more families, more support for the families that are helping the kids. They're probably one of the major. And
actually listening to those kids and what they want and what they need, helping, letting them be part of the decision making, because it really sets them up for failure if you don't.
That very important, because I said before, communication between everybody and letting kids have a voice. Because what they want and what they feel matters. 100%. Which is what you were saying. A lot of them just feel like they don't matter and they're insignificant. But letting them feel like they do matter. Because isn't that the point of having check-ins?
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't eventuate anywhere at the
Not
moment,
really. And like social workers, because they're so overworked and they have so many kids on their plate, they don't have the time to check in with every kid on their case. And like that, or they see that they think this family that they're in is really healthy, really good, so they just back off so like they can be a family, which is good in a sense. But then when something goes wrong in the family, the kid doesn't know who to tell, and it's really hard. And I think, and I know this one friend, a really close friend of mine, she had 4 social work changes in 3 months, I think, and then she went a couple months without no social worker, so she had no one. And it's just like, it's not the social worker's fault, it's not the caseworker's fault, it's just the lack of support, the lack of training, and how many cases they each have on their plate is, yeah, it's horrible. And I really feel for those social workers. I used to hate my social workers, but I think the more you learn about what they go through and how much they have on their plate, you realize like they're just trying their best. But yeah, like, I'm sure social workers hate that they can't see their clients every couple of weeks, every month, because they're just so busy.
Yeah.
And then put in the paperwork they have to do, the case notes they have to do, the reports they have to do. They just don't have time.
Yeah.
They're so overworked. And then once they're overworked, once they're overstressed, they have empathy fatigue, they have burnout, and then they can't take care of the kids.
Yes, exactly. You know, I know quite a few social workers, and they have heart of gold.
Oh yeah, most of them do.
They do, because that's why they're doing that work in the first place.
But after so many years, their hearts harden because they just can't keep going.
You're chewed up by the system.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is why I think what you said earlier about the fact that you couldn't work for a company.
Yeah, because there's just so much red tape, and I know that would happen with me. I'd just get overworked. I won't be able to make the changes. So I'm like, if I create my own company, I can make that change.
Yeah, that's it. That's amazing. Because and important.
Yeah.
Because like I said before, your life lessons are way more powerful than what you could have learned at school.
Yeah.
And clearly you knew that you were in school. I'm like, I don't need to learn about this. This is not important.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and so now you're like, when confines are trying to like come around you and mold you into their like ways and their rules, you're just like, no. Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Need more of you. You know, and
there is a lot of me.
No,
there's a lot of young people like me who are just trying so hard to make a change. And I love seeing them do their work and stuff, and I hope I can help them and mentor them in a way.
Yeah. So is that what you're doing as part of your company now? Like, are you mentoring other?
Not really, in a sense. Like, I do have like young people who've aged out of care and stuff who message me and they're like, oh, I want to do what you're doing. Like, how can I do it? And I can I try and give them advice, and you know. But yeah, as my company grows, I mean, we've only officially launched the company September, so young. So like, you know, over the years, I do hope to have an office, have a building, be able to provide different types of services, and lived experience mentoring is definitely one thing that I'm very passionate about, and I hope I can have as a service in my company. So I think having people with lived experience doing this work and working with clients, it makes clients feel a lot more safe, a lot more understood. I know that I was always a lot closer to workers who had lived experience, because you can tell that they actually understand and that they actually know what you're going through. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's part of why I do this podcast, is to share other people's lived experiences, like yourself especially. And
because you could have the research and the training in the world, but and that's important. Training and education is so important, but the most change will come from if you have your lived experience, because that is so powerful. Sharing your lived experience as well as that training and that research.
Fantastic. So earlier you mentioned that you know, there are obviously a lot of bad stereotypes and a lot of bad things that are, you know, people tend to remember the bad. And I don't even think that we need to even go into any of them. And I think off the top of their head, people would be like, oh, I can't probably think of something. You've mentioned some already. What are some good aspects then? What are the positives that don't get spoken about
in DCP? I think how resilient and incredible those young people can become. I think, like they go through so much. A lot of young people, they get so many knocks in the system. They move around so many times. They, you know, they go through so much pain and trauma, and they just stay standing. Like, I think they're the most powerful. Kids in care are definitely one of the most powerful people you'll ever meet. They're so strong. They're so resilient. And some of them will still have such an incredible love for people, and that they will still always see the good in people. And they've gone through so many bad things. And I think that that's one of the biggest things, is how powerful and how strong and resilient young people are who are going into care. You'll never understand, you'll never meet anyone so strong like them. And I see these stories and see these people in young people in care, and I just think how incredible they are to still be standing no matter how many knocks they get. Like, they get so many knocks and they're still standing, doing incredible things. They're still wanting to make a change in the world. And I think that's one of the best things, is seeing that and hearing other people's stories. It's just incredible. Young people in care are just so incredible. They're superheroes. They're amazing. So that's definitely one of the positives.
That's a huge positive.
Yeah.
It just makes me think of, you know, I mean, knocks, you know, school of hard knocks is the saying, isn't it? But it's like, you've gone through the school of hard knocks yourself. Yeah. And it doesn't sound like you're in that victim mentality where you're thinking, oh, well, it's me, all this stuff happened to me. You're owning a lot of what has happened, and now you're coming through it, and you're trying to not only still empower yourself, you know, let's be real, because you're still wanting to empower yourself through what you need to, and then also empower others. That's a huge superhuman you know, traits that you're trying to exemplify to the world. And I think that people in general, you know, even especially these young kids and people that are going through school of hard knocks, people go through those things because they're destined for greater things. That's what I believe, because I see the people that have gone through the most shit are the ones who are doing big things in the world.
100%,
really. You know, if you had a really cushy, comfortable life, there's no adventure or real risk taking, or you know, big things don't come out of those environments. As shit as some of the environments have been, it's like, but that molds like just the platforms for elevated growth and next level experience.
100%. You put a person with the best childhood, best upbringing, like golden plate, everything, and you put them in a room full of kids in care or people with bad experience, the shock on their face is incredible, because they just don't, they've never understood it. They never thought that would happen around them. And I think that's the thing with kids in care as well, because it's such a silent topic. People in the community don't realize the stuff that happens, and I think that's so detrimental, because that's becoming more silence, and there's not enough being done, because society and people, our community, they don't know what's happening in care. It's so silent that they don't know what they can do to make a change, and they forget that there is these things happening. Like, you know, you hear on the news recently about the deaths for kids who've been in care, or the abuse that kids been caring, like before care and stuff. People are so shocked that that's happening, and it's like, that's only the stuff that's being on the news. You just hear and see the stuff that's happening that's not on the news. They'd be so much more shocked.
I mean, I have heard of what goes on, you know, and outside and in the news, but what's one thing perhaps that you think most people don't know about that they should perhaps have some awareness around?
I think what's one thing?
You can name a couple.
I don't even know. I think it's everything, just like the lack of support there is for kids in care, the lack of carers that we need so desperately, that are good carers. Just how broken the system is, and how horrible it's really putting on kids in care. Like the system, child protection, not just DCP, all child protection worldwide is supposed to protect the child. And here these kids are coming from abuse and neglect into the protection system, and sometimes they go through just as much bad stuff as before. Like, where are they actually? When are they safe? Where are they safe? Like, some kids, they have the best foster families, the best upbringing, and some kids, they go through worse abuse imaginable, worse than before care. And I think there is just so much issues with kids coming into care who probably don't need to come into care. Their parents and their families just need better support, better training, and we need to do better at reunification. I think we need to do better at training parents who are known to the system about how they can be good parents, how they can look after their kids, and, you know, bring those kids back to their families, because there is definitely kids in care that probably don't need to be in care. They probably just need their parents to have more support than there is, because parents don't become parents with a handbook. You know, like they don't know what they're doing, so they need better support. And I think instead of taking those kids away, you should be giving them more support, reunification, and leaving the child protection system for those kids that desperately need to be protected. And then how can we make the child protection system better at protecting the child? And I think one way we can do that is owning up to your issues and, like, you know, holding yourself accountable. You know, all the systems should be holding themselves accountable of the issues that they're doing and fixing what they're doing, instead of covering it up and putting a slap on it and being like, okay, we'll just pretend that never happened.
Yes, that's the problem with the system.
Yeah,
it's not taking ownership.
No, it doesn't. But that's any system. Like, come on.
I know.
We see the education system, we see the healthcare system.
Yeah.
It's definitely not a dig at child protection, because it's a systematic thing.
Yeah.
Systematic
That's
change
why I
needs to happen.
system in general.
Because there's so much more systematic changes, and
No, that's very good. And everything that you said is reunification. Just thinking about that, it's true. You know, so you've talked about support on many levels, so we've ended up talking about all the different things and how much more need there is for kids to have a loving home, supportive home, even if, because if they're not going to get that support from the system and they're not going to get that support from DCP, they need good people, you know, willing and able.
And it doesn't matter what the family looks like, you know, as long as you're loved, as long as you're taken care of, that's a good family. Like, you don't need two parents. You don't need a mum and a dad. You can have two mums, a mum, two dads, a dad. Like, you know, it doesn't matter. Grandparents, aunties, uncles. It really doesn't matter as long as you're loved and taken care of. And I think, like that carer saying to me that I deserve two parents, I think that was not true. It's
beyond even your comprehension.
Right,
So what does that even mean? You know, because you've been on your own, so you're like, I don't really know what like two parents.
I had an argument. Well, not really an argument. I had a debate the other week about how I was told that I said that I don't want to get into a relationship ever, and I'm just going to go through IVF and foster care and just become a foster care. And I was told, your kids need a mum and a dad. And I was like, no, they don't. I was like, well, no, you don't need both. I was like, I didn't have a dad growing up. And they're like, yeah, that doesn't really convince me that you don't need. I was like, okay, geez. So I'm like, no, I don't agree with that. Sorry. You do not need a mum and a dad. You don't even need like two parents. You can have whatever you have. It's the family's family. Like, my village is my youth workers and ex-youth workers and my friends. I don't need parents.
It's the family you created for yourself.
Really is. I mean, there is definitely days that I wish you did have parents, you know, like you see your parents, you see your family. I know that, like, being at the awards ceremony on Thursday night for the Young South Australian and seeing the parents cry when their kids, like the adult kids, won the award and stuff, and I'm like, in those moments you're like, oh yeah, I wish I could have parents like that, you know, parents that are proud. And then I try and remind myself, like, I do have other people who are really proud. And I mean, there's days where I don't think about that, and I should.
Are you proud of yourself?
No. we're all here, right? No. I am not. There is days I am more proud than other days, but I really do struggle to be proud of myself, for sure.
It takes time.
Yeah, definitely.
But you're on the road to it.
You
know, and I think that I just said that because I feel like you don't need anyone else there. As long as you're proud of you. That's the most important thing. But
I think having people around me who are proud of me, I think, like, cause I like it when, like, those I really care about and love tell me that they're proud of me, because it makes me feel good, because I'm like, I don't really have this. And I think the more that other people are proud of me, the more I do probably believe that I'm proud of myself. And I try and achieve good things. Like, every time I do something good or something happens, I will go up to those people. I'll be like, oh my gosh, like, this happened, and they're like, oh wow, I'm so proud of you. And I'm like, oh, so I purposely like tell them things like that. Because I just love it when they tell me that they're proud of me. You've
got a lot of healing. You've had to go through a lot of healing, and getting that outside recognition, you know, helps you go within to be proud and confident in your own self, to now do the work that you're doing, because most kids cringe at public speaking. And
I still do, don't worry. I actually do not like talking in crowds. I don't like talking into microphones. I don't like filming myself.
Like what we're doing.
Right. I don't like large crowds of people. And it's just so funny that those are the things that I'm good at, but I hate it. I've grown a lot in the last couple of years of doing a lot of this advocacy and stuff. but I definitely don't like it. Surprisingly really good at it, but for someone who's really good at something, I really don't like it.
It's good.
Yeah,
you just got to keep doing
that's when you know that that's your passion, that's your drive. And I think knowing that I don't like doing this sort of stuff, but I love advocating and I love making a difference in the system, and I love working with young people, but I just don't like public speaking or anything. But knowing that I don't like that, but I do it because I love making a difference in the world, really showed me what I want to do in my life. Because I'm like, I don't like it, but I'm good at it, and I like working with young people. So this is what I want to do for my life, and I'm doing what I want to do for the rest of my life, making that change in the system.
It's good.
Yeah.
Perhaps you don't dislike it after all.
Yeah, probably not. Deep down, I probably love it just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, strip that away, and then you come more into your own into public speaking. Yeah. When I started speaking and doing things in the public eye from a young age, I didn't want to. It's because my mum pushed me into the limelight, and then I just learned to suck it up. So circumstantial. Yeah. But you are here on purpose and for a reason. And have I touched upon most of the things here? Have I missed anything?
No, I think that's been pretty much. Yeah.
Brilliant. Awesome. And I feel like there's definitely going to be a follow-up to this, years and years down the track, and you're going to be a completely new, transformed woman at that stage. So I look forward to that next book, perhaps. And reading this first one, obviously. I admittedly not read it yet because I don't have it.
Sorry about that. My fault.
So a question I ask everyone that's been on the show is, what does summoning your superhuman mean to you?
I think making a change for other people, being able to see lives transformed with my story, and using my story not for my own glory, not for my own happiness or my own spotlight, because again, don't like being center of attention, but doing it because I know that I need to do it to make a difference for the other person. Like being a superhero, it wasn't like, superheroes are never for themselves. If you watch superhero movies, it's always saving other people. And I think in a sense, when you're saving other people, not that kids can need to be saved, you're saving yourself. And I think, when I make that change, when I see those young lives change and seeing people who are younger than me, who remind me of myself at that age, listening to me and being able to find their voice, it heals that inner child in me, and it really saves myself. So I think, summoning that superhero is just helping others and making a difference in the system to help the next generation of kids in care, because we can't stop the system from having kids in care, but we can make it a safer and better system.
I just want to let those words sink in with people. Yeah. Because that's, amazing. Great response and very true. The superheroes aren't about themselves in the glory, because a lot of them actually don't allow their persona to be known.
They do it behind scenes.
They have costumes. They want to be incognito.
I actually didn't even want to win the awards. I didn't, you ask anyone who's really close to me, I was so scared of winning, because the thing is, I don't want to do any of this for my own glory. I don't want to share my story to be like, woe is me. I want to do this to help the system change. So I don't find any interest in winning any fancy big awards. It was incredible being nominated. I'm so blessed to be nominated, and that was an incredible experience. But I'm glad I didn't win, because winning means being in the spotlight, means showing myself, and I'd rather do it behind scenes. I'd rather make that difference behind scenes, because it's even though you need a big platform to make a difference, I want to do it all for the glory of those kids and helping those kids, not to seem like I'm bigger and better.
Do it all in your own time, Felicity.
That's the plan.
Because it's a big jump into the spotlight, getting recognition like that. Because then now you got media and you've got all this sort of stuff. So it is important to be known. 100%. Oh, 100%. You need the platforms, and I'm grateful for the platforms, but also don't want fame to ever get to my head. I see fame get to people's heads, and then they went from being incredible advocates or incredible people making a difference in the world, and then once they get fame, they just change. It's all about them again. And it's what happened to what you started. So I always want to know and to remind myself that I'm doing this for others, not for myself. I already told so many people that if I ever let fame get to my head, just
me and slap it out of me because that's not who I want to be.
And I don't think that is who you are.
Yeah.
And yeah, it takes a big person to realize that.
Yeah.
And be aware that you don't want that to happen. So you're in a safe place for that not to happen.
Yeah.
Because then as you do start doing more of these speaking events, you will get more known.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that, you're in, like you said, staying tuned to your why.
Yeah, exactly.
Why
it's always
you're doing
remembering
this
that why. Yeah.
in the first place.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right. We're going to leave it there because I know you and I could chat for
100%. Thanks for having me.
ages. This is, I think that, not only is the work that you're doing fantastic.
Yeah.
And so much needed. It's also, and I hope, because I know, a lot of people that are listening to this, we're all around the same-ish age. And it's like, it's a nice reminder that doesn't matter your age.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you think you're too old to share your message or too young, and everybody deserves to have their voice shared and their voice heard. And I think that that's a big, message here, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Communication, but like just let everyone be heard.
Yeah.
All right. That's a wrap. Thank you so much for today.
Thanks for having me again. It was amazing.